be me. I already cut my bangs,
Yeah.
so here we go.
It was the gift of the Magi or something like
That's it. The gift of the Magi. That's it. So anyway, I come home. I stand there staring at him like, what did you do?
that.
And I said, is this why you wanted me to come home early? He's like, what? Oh, no, 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 that's not it. Like, warn me. Like, see your face in so long. He said, no, get in the car and get me a computer.
That's awesome. That's
So,
awesome. I
yeah.
like that gift of Magi too. With one of us is.
Am I okay?
I think so. Yep. There we go.
Okay.
Back.
Okay.
It's funny with the gift of the Magi too. You just kind of think like, the guy was gonna end up being like, "Bitch, I stole my watch. You can always grow your hair back. I didn't get my watch back."
Do you know how long I worked for that watch?
I know. My dad
Hey,
carried that in his butt.
Amelia used all my hairspray.
Mm,
She used all my expensive mascara.
yeah.
She keeps taking it out of the studio and running off. And so this time I was like, do you know how much this can of hairspray costs? And she goes, $30. I said, wrong. One haircut. That's a half an hour of me standing still. Do you know how much this cost? I went down the line and she goes, oh. I said, so from now on, if you want the fancy stuff for yourself, you're going to be doing some fancy chores. End of discussion.
That's fair. But but fancy. What did I? Yeah, I was going to go off to a Gene Wilder thing, but I lost it. What is fancy?
She did chores once. She did dishes once in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And just loaded the dishwasher and unloaded it and then load it, and then didn't clean off any counters or even finish the dishes. And that was it. And she's like, you act like you don't do anything. I'm like, you act like you do everything.
Yeah. I mean, what is fancy though? Mean like a fancy hairspray? I mean, because I'm trying to think like.
I'm thinking more like you need to clean for a half an hour.
Yeah. But
half an hour.
No, which product I'm asking now, is that like what product do you have there that is fancy?
Don't
the hairspray. But what like the hairspray? I mean, because yes, I think in the business here, there are a lot of people that use the fancy stuff, but there's a lot of people who just pull out their like Joico, ice mist or something like that.
No, this is actually
got to be glued. Got to be glued,
The pain of my existence as a hairstylist. Stop using that shit. It's glue. Just use Elmer's glue.
Well, there's some things that we need that for, but
mohawks.
Yeah, but
this is it's Matrix, and it's the new Vavoom. I was amazed that Vavoom is back, and it's triple freeze, but it feels, you can't tell that it's on the hair, and it smells like Coach perfume. So that's why I like it. And a little turd used all of it. Made me so mad. You know what would be great? A door. If we had doors, if we had locking doors, that would be great.
Is there no door on your?
No, remember we're remodeling the house, and then operating costs went up. It was $500 for a box of toothpicks. So getting our new doors and hanging them up was like, we're using curtains for now.
Yeah, I did that. I got that here.
Yeah. So
kind of,
so the bangs, I was upset.
Again, bangs.
And I cut them way shorter than I wanted. I wanted them to like down here. It even happens to the professionals. Okay.
Yeah.
Even the professionals shouldn't cut.
Because then you're like pulling it, and then you're like.
Yeah. And I was trying to do like where you twist it, you pull it over here, you over direct, and then droop, droop. But I'm like, it doesn't look angled enough. So instead of just pulling them down and pointing a triangle out, I just was like, we'll do it again. And now I'm like, no, I know.
This is where I get in trouble. This is like one of the things where because I don't necessarily want to, hey, is this my do these jeans make my ass look fat? I mean, it's just like, your ass was fat before. I don't know.
But it's a good thing these days.
But it's a good fat. I like that. No, but no, because I had a girlfriend one time who did that, and she cut her hair and put bangs on it, and I was just like, I remember I walked into the house because I mean, she had like long, lovely hair, and I really liked that. And she was a hairstylist, and so then one day she, I don't know, cut her hair, got her hair did, and she had bangs, and I was just like, oh, she's like, and she just stared at me, and I didn't say anything, and she's like, you hate it, and I'm like, do you like it?
No.
And she's like,
Not
well, you like it.
necessarily.
I'm like, okay, great. And she's like, yeah, but you hate it. And I'm like, it's not my hair.
See, that's Dave. He's not he can't really lie, or he doesn't know how to. He doesn't know how to have that conversation with me. Or put it gently. It's 100% blunt honesty. And no matter what, I'm still a girl, okay? And it does come out. And I'm like, why do you hate me? I knew you didn't find me attractive. And I'll run away. And he's like, I don't know what just happened.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, there's things that I don't know, like I mean, it goes off into some of the other conversations we had in the last one. But it's just like, like what you think is going to be pretty, or what you think that he might think is pretty, and that he might like. I mean, it's all different things, And I don't know. I mean, I guess I see things too, maybe from a semi-artistic point of view, where I just like, okay, not sure of the point. I mean, I know you're trying to frame, you're doing all this, but I don't know. There was something about it that, I didn't like. And then, sure, I eventually, said, yeah, I don't like it, but it's not my hair. So it's like, and everybody else loves it. Everybody says I look like I'm 16. It's like, okay, great. I really, okay. I don't know.
Like right after I did it, I had a live stream. And I tried to like quickly fix them.
Yeah.
To make it look, so they'd stay out of my way. But the whole time they were in my eyes, and I just kept like, I ended up just yanking them back. I said, there, I'm better, I'm fine. But today I did this old school trick that I did when I was a kid with my grandma. I rag curled my hair.
Okay.
And I'm like, I can live with this. This is fine. So as long as I just sleep in rags every single night.
I see.
Like we're in the Great Depression.
Yeah. It's going to be like one of the little rascals or something.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Brian Sipe. Yay!
Hi.
He's back. Welcome back.
Yeah, of course. This is fun.
We're gonna have to like make a jacket like SNL.
Yeah.
And once you hit 5 times, you'll be in the 5 Timers Club.
Yep. There you go.
We've got new things. I got a new chair that doesn't fart or squeak.
Nice. I gotta work on that. I gotta work on that. My chair's all, I don't know.
Okay.
Grind.
I've got new stuff. I got so I have news. By the time this comes out, it will be announced. But I had a meeting today. There's a guy around here, and I mean, it's Southeast Missouri, so you really don't think much when someone reaches out. Earlier this year, someone reached out. One of my subscribers' friends had sent them a message like, oh, this is my favorite podcast. You should check it out. She lives around here. So they were having this big anniversary party for their podcast group. And they invited Dave and I over. And I'm like, cool, free beer and food. I'll record something. I'll say hi. I get there and I realize there's a couple people I know that I'm good friends with. And we recorded something, had a great time, laughed. And it was funny because one of the guys who is just steady getting ripped out of his mind the whole time. Because we're recreational now. Yay.
Are you?
He keeps calling me cosmetics and comics. And I keep saying comics and cosmetics. Like every time, like, no. The cosmetics is secondary. And he said he goes on this, tries to be, I guess, encouraging or whatever. And he goes, we need more women in podcasting because women like makeup and they should have podcasts to listen to about it. And I finally just went, you've never seen the show, have you? The leader, the guy, this is really, I'm going to end up doing it again because for heaven's sake, just stay. Stop touching your hair, Danielle. Stop touching your hair.
You're gonna end up with like some Axl Rose headband.
I will. It's happened before. But so we did that one thing, and that was pretty much the end of it. They reached out online a couple times, shared each other's things or whatever. And then a couple weeks ago, they said, hey, would you like to do like a collaborative giveaway? And I'm like, okay, but right now I'm broke and I don't really have anything to give away. He's like, get this thing with these Funko people. Do you like those things, those Funkos? And I'm like, yeah. A little bit. A little bit. So he said, come on by. I'm going to give you like 15 Funko Pops. Keep whatever you want for yourself. Give the rest away. However you want to do it. I'm like, okay. So I did that. Well, today I was finishing up at the salon and he messaged me and said, what are you doing today? So, well, as it happens, I'm meeting with a friend around 6 tonight. I did have a $300 client at 1 o'clock, but they were very nice to cancel on me 5 minutes ago during the Christmas season.
Yeah.
So I guess my afternoon is free. And he said, would you do me a favor and just, stop by? I want to run some ideas by you. And I'm like, okay, well, since I'm getting ready for this thing, I'm trying to find it. Where do things go? Like, you take a picture.
Yeah.
And it just.
That is the one thing about iPhone that drives me crazy because I don't know. There must be a setting in there where you can change it to where I know that like if somebody sends me a picture, when it downloads into the photo roll, it downloads. See, it downloads per their date, not the date that I accepted.
Really?
So that like if they took the picture in January, if you scroll back up to January, there it is. It's not I got the picture today.
That's fucking confusing, Apple.
Yeah,
okay, we're middle aged. All right, you grew up with a Nintendo, so a part of it.
I know.
This is confusing for us. Make it simple.
I'm not sure. Somebody out there smarter has probably actually decided to open up the settings and look at it and see if you can change that. But I don't know if you can.
Probably
So I think I did at one point look, but that's because I get pictures all the time. I'll put it in my photo roll and I go to look at it. I'm like, where to go?
Where to go?
Well, and then you're scrolling.
I just decided just to go straight to the message. I said
there's that.
He's telling me like, can you swing by? So, well, yeah, I don't have much time. I gotta, get home and put on my war paint because I'm gonna be on camera. And he says, okay, so just let you know, I'm showing up looking like a grandma from the Great Depression. And he's like, oh, ho, ho, ho. And I'm like, no. No.
Yeah. What is that?
It's the rags. It's my rag girls. I rolled my hair up and then tied it and then left it like that and let it finish drying. This is really going to drive me nuts. Nobody cares, Danielle. You're the only one who cares.
It was one of the options.
Anyway, I showed up and because it's rainy here, I had my hood on. I walk into the studio and take off my hood and he goes, oh, you meant it. Like, no, I am preparing. No one. He's like, look, I'm going to be great with you. What's it going to take to get you a part of our network? And I was like, I just started doing that nervous laughing, like, I don't know what to say. Okay. Well, if you got more of those Funko Pops, that'll help. He comes out with 3 boxes of them and he's like, take whatever you want, take all of them. So he gave me, I don't even know how many of these things. I have so many now, but he gave me those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm announcing tomorrow that I'm leaving the Red 5 network and I'm joining the Barn. It doesn't get more Missouri than that, folks.
Is it a Red Barn?
It is. It is actually a legit Red Barn. But they have several podcasts. They normally just have podcasts, but they're moving into YouTube. And they really want to. They said they want to make it a really big deal. They want to promote the hell out of it and tell everybody.
Awesome. So, that's amazing. That's
great. I need money.
But who are their other, like, what's their other talent?
One
Just
of their
their
biggest
local.
ones, one of their biggest ones is called Vulgar Display of a Podcast, and it's about metal music.
Mhm.
They mostly have stuff about music. They've got one called Birds and Swords, which is gaming. Um, they have a lot of sports stuff. They've got one about parody called Dads and Daughters, Dads with Daughters.
Mhm.
Got that one. I'm really not familiar with all the names, but they have several
Oh,
podcasts, and one has oh, I think 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. So he was telling me, he's like, I don't know, 590 subscribers. That was like,
what? You might have to say that again.
he said, I don't know how or why you only have 490 subscribers, but we're going to help fix that.
Yeah.
And I was like, good, because I'm frustrated. I don't know what
Yeah.
else to do. And he's just a really nice guy. Turns out he knows my daughter's, late father's family. He's the one who actually did the memorial video for his benefit. And I was like, wow, well, look at that. His mother-in-law is actually a patron of my salon. And he was talking to me the other day, and she happens to be sitting over there. And all of a sudden she's like, wait, are you talking to Chad? Blah, blah. And I said, yeah. How'd you know? She's like, that's my son-in-law. He's a great guy, psychiatrist. I'm like, yeah. It was so weird. And then I felt bad because I had to tell her, well, actually, the salon is closing at the end
Yeah.
of the year. Been
Yeah.
having that conversation all week, but I'm starting to get excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's
yeah.
like I'm
I
already.
didn't know if you wanted to get into that.
Oh no, because it's already announced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but
But
I'm
well,
already going.
let's finish on
Mhm.
Chad. Let's finish on Chad or Chet.
Oh
Chad.
yeah, but
Um,
yeah,
but so that's great. And so then he's got, like, I mean, when you look at his other channels and stuff, I mean, the other people are monetized, and I mean,
well,
everybody's,
I think the 25,000 one definitely
yeah.
is. They're, like I said, they're mostly audio podcasts. They've recently, in the last year or so, started putting them on YouTube, um, but they still don't have full video. A lot of them, like some of them do, but he's moving into doing full video by spring, and that's when he was like, "That's when we're gonna hook you up with some equipment because."
Okay.
We're gonna try and up this because it's kind of putting us in the same boat. Like I only have to provide them 2 videos a month, and it can be live, it can be pre-recorded or a rewatch of a live. And considering that, I do 8 videos a month.
And a video can be considered anything from a 7-minute thing to an hour thing to
Oh yeah, and I told him I normally do one pre-record every week and one live show. So that's 8 videos. And he's like, we only need 2. So maybe give us a pre-record and a live, and I'm already doing it for my channel. So all I have to do is upload it to theirs. I keep 100% control and creative control over everything I do in my channel. It's all mine.
Mhm.
And that's that. It's
So you
just
have to, like, wait, like if you do one for your channel, you can't put it on yours first. You have to drop it on theirs first, or
what drop them at the same time.
same time.
Yeah, he gives me the information I need to upload it to the Barnes channel,
Mhm.
and then, I have it on mine at the same time. So it's kind of like the Barnes channel is like the Reader's Digest sampler book
Right.
of all of our channels. So, and he was also encouraging me to have audio versions of my podcasts. And then I was like, well, I don't know if that would translate that well. He said, but this is what you do. You say, if you would like the full video, subscribe to my YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I told him I'm definitely interested.
I mean, you've already done it. All you got to do is just upload
Yeah,
just the audio.
yeah, exactly. So we've already kind of verbally had a handshake over expectations, but he's going to draw up the contract. And Dave's like, I'm looking at this contract.
Yeah. What's the window? What your window of exposure with them?
My window of exposure.
I mean, is it like a 3-year deal? Is it a 1-year deal?
Oh,
2-year deal?
that thing. We haven't even talked about it.
Yeah.
But I definitely wouldn't want to do anything beyond 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, that would just be stupid.
Yeah.
That would limit
Even
me.
a year, a lot can happen in a year,
Yeah.
and you don't need, Colonel Tom Parker hanging over your head. But
Mm.
but the other side of it is the door that I could open, could be amazing. And I mean, this is where, like, I differ from a lot of people. There's a store in town, Los Angeles here, Nigel's, that I sent you to. I send everybody
Very
to.
familiar with.
Yeah. So because they've always been really good to me. Even the original owner there, Nigel, when he was there. I mean, we've had a great relationship. When he went to open his own store, he was like, hey, I got my own store, and I want to try and do you have anything that we could sell in the store that would be kind of that nobody else has, and that you do, or whatever. And that's when I started selling my prosthetic line. And kind of like the handshake deal at that time was, he's like, well, it's, is it cool that it's just going to be us, and I'm just like, absolutely. I mean, so to this day, all my product I mean, there are stores in town that have repeatedly asked me to sell to them, and yeah, I lose a lot of money, but to me, maintaining that loyalty, even over a handshake, is just like,
Absolutely.
I'm not going to look for another dollar over there and lose this relationship. There's the woman now who runs it, Ramonda Galbani. I mean, it's like, same thing. I mean, she's just whatever you need, whatever you need. And I'm with her. It's like, whatever you need, Huh?
Ramunda. It sounds like a superhero name. I love it.
She is a superhero. I mean, truly. But that's like the thing, it's just like, some people, it's like, yeah, but, it doesn't behoove you to go anything past 2 to 3 years, but I don't know. I mean, it's like, even if you get something bigger and better afterwards, unless he's a dick, it's just like, yeah, but if this is the guy that, I'll hang out
You
here.
got a good point.
You
got a good point.
Maybe I don't know.
Because I've been married so much that I'm afraid of contracts.
Yeah, sure. I get that.
I've always said, well, after my first divorce, I've said that I feel like marriage contracts should be like phone contracts. Like, we sign it for 2 years, and at the end of that 2 years, we have the option to either renew, or you know what, we're just going to move on and look for a different carrier.
Yeah, just upgrade.
Upgrade. Opportunity to upgrade. But no, I just, right at this point, because these are relatively new people to me, we do know a lot of the same people, and I have heard good things. And this is a small area. So if you're going to hear something bad, you're going to hear it soon.
Yeah.
But being who I am, and that I've published a book, I've ran my own business, been divorced. I start off with a smaller window. So let's say we sign a contract for a year. At the end of that year, way before the end of that year, I will know if this is something a relationship I want to continue on, and give my undevoted loyalty, because when I am loyal to someone, I go down with that ship.
Yeah.
So I will know fairly soon if this is seaworthy. I love metaphors and analogies.
But you never know, because it's sometimes, even in this world, especially in this world, just because the content is it's bombarding, that it could take some time to really get that footing, and it's just like, really, like, what is it, chaffing the wheat, it's just like, it takes a while to break away, to find your voice more so, it's just kind of like to hone that in, and and for people to really kind of get it. Because some people, you watch TV shows,
Yeah.
sometimes you give it the chance and sometimes you don't. It's like, oh, I'm 4 episodes in and I
Not
got it.
easily gotten, that's for sure.
Yeah. So it's actually, speaking of which, the thing that popped into my head, have you ever gone back and ever tried to watch the very first episode of Seinfeld?
No, I have not
Do
done
that.
that.
Do that, and we'll talk about that on the next podcast.
Okay.
I remember watching this. I'm like, this is a completely different show. The characters were not developed to what they became. It became more. They became caricatures, at the end. But those are the caricatures that we all love. When you watch that first episode, you're like, whoa, what? How did they sign this? And
It's a show about nothing.
This wasn't even the pilot. This was the show that they put out. It's like, wow. I mean,
my dad was obsessed with Seinfeld, and for one reason. My dad was a bass player, and the theme song was just a bass riff.
Yeah.
Bass riff. Yeah. Bass riff. And he said, how can you not love a show? Its theme song is a bass riff. Fair enough, Pop.
Yep.
Fair enough. But we do celebrate Festivus on December 23rd because it's for the rest of us. And I got a lot of problems with you people, and you're going to hear about it. That's what I let them know. I'm like, you be careful because Festivus is coming, and you're going to hear about it.
But just the whole Christmas, the whole Xmas vacation, or the whole Xmas holiday, or Christmas holiday.
We do, we do Festivus. Mm-hmm. We binge all the diehards that include Christmas. Okay. Because if it has Christmas, it's a Christmas movie.
There you
go. Gremlins. We watch Gremlins. Mm-hmm. A Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation. Those are our Christmas movies.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. I think they're remaking Christmas Vacation. Yeah, I know.
Can I tell you something? And this will probably get cut.
No, don't cut anything. This is the purpose of this side of the podcast. You don't cut anything.
Well, do you remember Ethan Embry? He played Rusty on Vegas Vacation, and he was in Empire Records, and he was on NCIS. Dave left a window open. What? Oh my gosh! You don't need to hear all of Southeast Missouri's dirt bikes. Good grief. Okay. He's an actor, and he's one of those actors that really feels like because he's an actor, everyone has to have his opinion.
Sure.
And they should trust it, whether he has knowledge or proof of whatever. So normally I don't touch anything on social media. I just don't. I don't care. I'm on there to promote whatever, and that's it. Nobody needs my effing opinion. Okay. Yeah. I'm a hairstylist and a makeup artist from St. Louis. Nobody cares. So for some reason, it just rubbed me raw that day. He was talking about, look, think what you will about Elon Musk. I don't care. I don't know him. So I really can't have a really formed opinion of the man. But he's going on about how Elon Musk is trying to do these medical advancements to help paralyzed people and disabled people walk again. Mm-hmm. And this actor is just going off about what an evil man he is. And that's how, you can't give them false hope. And it killed all the monkeys. It killed all the monkeys. And so finally I said, I have questions. One, are you a physician? He said, well, no.
But I played one.
And he says, no. I said, okay. Do you have, where did you hear this? Where did you see this? Do you have something to provide context or qualifications behind this? And he said, well, no. Then my concern is why you think your opinion is so just rock solid that everyone has to stop and focus on it. Like,
Yeah.
what is it that give me something to take this as validating and factual, and I should stop everything I'm doing right now and just join your side. Like,
Right.
what is it? And his response was, because I have a blue check mark now. He said his response was, that blue check mark doesn't help the algorithm keep preferential response time if everyone blocks you. I just I went, what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
that's
honestly, I subscribe to Twitter Blue for the edit button and to make entitled people cry. Is it working? He deleted the entire thread. He didn't block me or anything, but
he
he
just
deleted everything. Absolutely everything. Luckily, I had screen capped it. So the last thing that,
please post it.
yeah, the last thing that was said that, I caught was him completely making fun of me for having my blue check mark and then asking, why that is pertinent and why I got it. So I posted screen cap. I tagged him. I said, I think you dropped this.
Yeah. Internet's forever. Internet's forever.
And that was my my gold star for the day, was that I made a quasi celebrity delete an entire tweet thread.
Well, yeah. I mean, social media can be weird in that way, and I think, I mean, like, yeah, who cares what we all say? But I think, but I think but there is, I think, an importance to some things, even if it's just an opinion. Because if, there's that saying, and it sounds extreme, but it's, like, evil wins when good men do nothing.
Yes.
And it's,
yes.
Yeah. So I think and I think that there's, with all of the sides and everybody who's, woke and not woken, bike spoke or whatever it's going to be, it's, a lot of people don't voice an opinion.
Right.
So then, which really is an opinion. I mean, so then you're not heard and you're squashed. And then that other side who's going to be more vocal, or anybody who's more vocal, gets the ear of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, even with what happened there, it's just like real easy for, a canceling of things, or really easy to, and that's one bad thing about, or the good thing about the internet's forever, but the bad thing about some things, or an edit button, is that you can edit. So then it's like, oh, okay, let me backpedal a second, and then, or I'll just erase this whole thought and nobody will know what I said.
I don't even think about that.
And then we'll tear down these statues, and then, we'll burn a flag, and, I mean, it's there's, it removes this sense of accountability and responsibility that you have when you use your words. And I think it's important that we hold on to that. Mm-hmm. I mean, anything that's said here, and like, Elon Musk, the one thing that I hope he does, mm-hmm. That I thought I'd heard when he was going to buy Twitter, was he wanted to take down the wall of anonymity. He's like, mm-hmm. Free speech, you bet. You just can't hide. Let's see your face, let's see your name, and then let's see who speaks out. Because then how quiet will Twitter go? Very quiet. Because nobody's going to say anything.
Things have gotten really quiet lately since he started kind of throwing some stuff out. Yeah,
and but that's so telling, that it's just like, okay, so it's okay if you guys want to like hide in the corner and tap away at your keyboard and just, poke your head out every once in a while like a gopher or a meerkat, just be like, I'm not doing anything, but it's like, and you're like roasting everybody across the nation. That's one thing that's got to stop. I mean,
that's kind of the theory I was talking about. One, and this could get me canceled, but okay. But people aren't getting popped in the mouth anymore for saying things to people that they shouldn't. They're not, and it's not that I think violence is the answer. I'm saying there isn't an immediate consequence that that makes you pause because you are possibly
Should I?
thousands of miles away from this person. So of course you're going to be brave. They can't touch you. You are yelling at a one-dimensional person in your mind. It's not a real person to you. It's not inside it's called the monkey sphere. There's this whole study on it. Look it up, monkey sphere. What the theory says is that people outside of your little circle that you normally interact with, they're not three-dimensional people to you. So when you are seeing someone say stupid shit online, you're like, well, I'm going to say something about that.
Yeah.
And you cuss them and call them stupid names or whatever. You feel brave because they're not a real person to you and they can't, physically confront you about it. You're not getting an immediate consequence that is giving you pause. So, people run their mouths all the time.
And that needs to be a button. That needs to be a button. Like, yes, let's meet.
Meet out back.
Yeah.
But the other thing that kind of dawned on me was I was always raised that you shouldn't worry about anything that's not going on inside your front door. That's your business. You take care of that first. Whatever anyone else is doing inside of their homes that is not causing you any problems or bothering you or affecting your life in any way, none of your business. None of it. Problem with social media is that we are inside everyone's front door. They are putting their personal lives on display, their opinions, and we've gotten this almost delusional entitlement that we think it is our right and duty to tell other people how to live in their private lives, how they should think, how they should whatever, how they should be influenced. And for the most part, that is just, it's not true. And now we have this very confused and convoluted sense of what we should speak on and what we shouldn't. And it just seems like we are attacking everyone for every single reason all the time. The stuff that gets the most clicks on YouTube, people who hate things. I hate this show. I hate that movie. I hate this music. And here's why you should hate it too. And it just
such a weird team building thing. It's like, it's such a tribal, building the tribes up to fight another tribe.
Funny Games.
I mean, Lord of the Flies. It's it's funny because there was I can't remember, Rogan or somebody like that was saying stuff like that. It's just like, people say shit that they would never say to somebody if they were standing right in front of them. And
Precisely.
That's how always kind of like when you're putting it out there, it's just like, unless you feel like you could say those words with somebody in the room, then don't do it.
Don't do it.
But what's the point? That's just mean girl shit, and
you just want to be petty. And it's like, petty's such a cool thing right now, but does it really feel that good? Does it?
I think, but it must. I mean, really, when you think about it, meth must be great because lots of people do it and they give up everything.
Living in the world capital. I see them every day.
But again, it transfers to this. It's just like, it must feel great because it happens so many times a day and from a lot of the same people. And I mean, it's just, it's, I think that is really one of the true thing that has broken this country is just no more personal responsibility.
Thank you. Oh my God, this is why we're besties, Brian, because I'm constantly like, okay, I did an episode about the Comic Code Authority. I don't know why I always want to say Comic Code of Authority because that's not it. Anyway.
It's not it.
It's Comic Code Authority. It happened in the 50s. This man named Frederick Wortham, Dr. Frederick Wortham, he sounded like a cartoon Hitler. So I'm really amazed how right after World War II, we allowed ourselves to be gassed by this man. But he completely lied and said that comic books were turning kids gay and destroying marriage and all of these things. And I read through the book. I read all these interviews and articles. I did a lot of extensive research. And basically, the man is saying no personal responsibility. Your kids are shitheads, not because of you, not because of them, but because of comic books.
Right.
And it made me think of today. Don't worry. There's a label for that. There's no personal responsibility for you. It's not you, it's everyone else.
Yes.
Well, honey, that's the definition of insanity.
I mean, it's well, but it goes to everything. So it's just like,
Yes.
don't even worry about getting a job. Don't
Yeah.
you can,
Yeah.
whatever this guy is, his taxes are going to pay for you.
It's not, it's society. They're wrong. It's everyone's wrong but you.
Mm.
No. No. And this is coming from someone who had literally I was born with every single reason not to do anything for myself. I could have just sat back, collected a check, but I didn't feel good about myself. I
Yeah.
didn't feel good. There's something to be said about taking your life into your own hands, doing it for yourself and not just depending on it. Because when you're depending on someone else, be it a government or another human being, you are at their mercy. They have bought you.
Sure.
They have bought justification to do whatever they want with your life. And I don't know how anyone could be comfortable with that.
Well, because you know why? Is because the Kool-Aid's been drunk, and it's just like that weird hamster wheel of how to keep the vote going. It's just like, well, if you don't vote for me and the other people get it, then this is what's going to happen to your money, or this is what's going to happen to your check, or this is what's happened to your this or your that, your business. So you got to keep voting for me, and and it just becomes, I think, that that really bad cycle.
It's a reality show. It's not even politics or government anymore. It's a reality show.
Yeah.
And I used to be that one. Like I ran for an office, and let me tell you something. One, you need to focus on your local government first and foremost, because that's what hits home. That's what's going to affect you most immediately and most permanently. Focus on that first. But either way, small scale, large scale, same things happen. It's crony capitalism. It's oligarchy. It's all who you know. It's all who you know, and who can get you this or that. They will sit there and tell you that I want change. I want things to be different. We are tired of this place looking like a ghetto, and we need fresh blood that's passionate like you. I'm like, okay. What they really mean is they want to get rid of those guys so they can have it for themselves. It is the most addictive drug that you could possibly come across.
Howard?
Yeah. Yeah. And that being said, I decided this isn't even what it was intended for in the first place. When the country was founded, these jobs, these political positions, they were meant to be like jury duty. You come in, you do your time, you go home.
This is why we're best.
Yes, this is why we're best.
Conversation yesterday.
But it was not intended to be a gateway to lifetime fame and fortune. It was not that at all. And now, also, Jefferson himself said, we're being taxed to death by these regulatory offices. We shouldn't have more regulatory offices listed that you could fit on the palm of your hand. And now, like it's all the way out to here. When Dave and I were opening the salon, the hoops you had to go through, I had to pay. After I established my federal tax ID and my state tax ID and my retail license, okay, with the same name, people, everything, got it?
Right.
I had to then pay $8 to the state of Missouri to register my fictitious name. Hold on. I needed federal tax ID, state tax ID, retail license to register the fictitious name that I just registered with these three people. Why do I have to pay an additional $8? That doesn't make sense to me. And on top of that, I have one social security number for the federal and the state. Why do I need 2 different numbers for the
you just
business?
get it right there.
Does it make any sense?
You're gonna get a
Back,
second one.
yeah, back when this country was founded, this is how you opened a business. I'm selling hairbrushes. Would you like this hairbrush?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
now
it's a crazy money grab.
our
Um,
forefathers are just losing their shit in their hemp lined coffins. They are losing it because we haven't made a 180, we've made a 360. We've gone right back to where we started, and you wonder why this whole thing is so fractioned. You
yeah.
wonder why there's so many people focusing on the dumbest thing possible than
Well,
they
that's a
are
different.
reality.
I think that's a different thing, but
Well, the point is they're
yeah,
focusing. It's kind of like a magician. Look
sure.
at this hand. Don't look what I'm doing over here.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. I mean,
how do
it's
you not
well,
see that?
but you and well, that's why I really just stopped watching the news because I mean everything is wag
Me
the dog.
too.
Everything is wag the dog. It's when Afghanistan happened, which is I think probably one
And
of
I
the
was an
most.
army wife at the time.
You were what?
I was an active duty army wife during
Mm,
all of that 9/11 for
and that was
15 years.
yeah. I mean, but this last year when we walked away from however many hundreds of billions of dollars worth of everything and people and people hanging on the side of planes. I mean, it's
People don't
and,
understand that we've been there for so long protecting people. You hear all this stuff
yeah,
about, well, the American occupation. Do you know what my horrible ex-husband did while he was over there? And he was horrible to me and the kids. But what he did when him and his unit was over there, they escorted women to school. They
mm,
escorted women who wanted to go. They weren't forcing them. These
yeah,
women wanted to go. They escorted women and children to school, to hospitals, to vote. They built hospitals. They built them homes. We weren't just there saying, nope, don't do that. Don't be
yeah.
Muslim. Don't do that. That's wrong. They weren't doing that. You didn't hear about the good things they were doing. And these people started depending on us. And instead of doing this slow exit where we taught them these things and put stuff in place to continue
It was
to protect them so they could protect themselves, we just
Bye,
took the
Felicia.
fuck off.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I mean, it was like amazing. But the amazing thing was maybe 4 days later in the news.
Mhm.
It flipped to something else. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and then all of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
I mean, and then it didn't happen. I mean, it's like
Look at this shiny thing. Look
the
at this.
Ukraine, yeah, the Ukraine war is still happening. It's like it's not in the news. It's not covered anymore. Um, it's amazing that the power that the media has, and nobody wants to
And
really.
how stupid they think we are.
Yeah, well, some people are. I mean, and that's how they're getting away with it. That's how it's still happening. That they
Did
don't.
you, were you a fan of George Carlin?
I was.
Okay.
He
He
was.
said something. He says a lot of things.
Yeah,
The first one that I quote the most often is there are 3 things you need to learn in life. 1, women are crazy. 2, men are stupid. 3, women are crazy because men are stupid. That's true, my friend. The
oh,
second thing he said that I quote the most is that find the dumbest person in your town, the dumbest person you know. Just think about him, picture him in your mind. Now multiply that person by about 150,000, and that is the majority of the United
yeah,
States.
yeah. I mean,
Oh, why is he right? Because
but
we're pack animals, you know?
we are. I mean, and it's funny because it as diverse as everybody wants to make the world and us, as opposed to any opposition that there might be, there's there's something that's deeply grained in our DNA that we birds of a feather. And it's not that it's a racist thing. It's not that it's a bigoted even a cultural thing. It's just something that's I don't
It's
know.
just a human thing.
It's just it's a human thing. It's an animal
Human
thing.
thing.
It's just an animal
We
thing. You know,
we
like
group together. We are pack animals.
yeah,
We need a
yeah.
pack. We need a
I mean,
tribe. We need to feel like we belong. So we hear something that we kind of like, hey,
that
I
way
kind of feel
everybody
like that.
everybody gets the
And
alarm. Everybody gets the alert.
yeah, we
And
latch on to it.
like my favorite thing to discuss about this is Planet of the Apes. Have I
Yeah.
mentioned this to you?
Mm.
There's a documentary that was done about Planet of the Apes. It's kind of like behind the scenes and a little doco, and you watch it.
Mhm.
And in the middle of it, somewhere they start talking about like how interesting that everybody's in makeup. They're shooting the movies. When they break for lunch, it didn't matter who was in the makeup. The chimpanzees sat with the chimpanzees. The orangutans sat with the orangutans, and the gorillas sat with the gorillas.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it
Remember
it
hearing
didn't
about
matter. I mean, white, black, purple, yellow, blue. It's like everybody was in wearing those makeups, but when they hung out together, it's tribal. I mean, so it's like there's something that is. I mean, that's what I think it is just truly DNA. It's just something that's
it.
down in what's written into the helix. That it's like that's just what we do. We pack animals flock together.
Let us not forget also the Stanford experiment.
Which one?
The
The like the prison thing, or
yes, yes. They assigned randomly
yeah.
these students to be COs, corrections officers, security guards, prison guards,
Mm-hmm.
and this group to be the prisoners. And what happened? Absolute power corrupted.
Just gnarly, yeah.
It was we cannot forget these things. That saying, he who does not know his history is doomed to repeat it. And I mean, think about that. Think about that
Except if
phrase.
you except if you tear down the statues.
Yeah,
We make a new history.
up, don't look. It didn't
Yeah.
happen.
I mean,
Here's the
yeah.
thing. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. It's supposed to upset you. It's supposed to bother you. Why? So you don't do it again.
Yeah, so
That's why.
learn.
Why do they tell us why on earth would we go to therapy? Why do we have therapists who help us make peace with our past? What's the first thing you have to do? One, you have to face it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to make peace and recognize and remember your past so that you can move on healthily as an individual. The human race is like an individual. We are growing up. But in order to do that, in order to make peace and move on in a healthy way, we have to face the horrible things we did in our past so we learn from it and we don't do it again. If we're constantly hiding those things, how do we grow? How do we get better? It doesn't make sense. Like your kids, you discipline them, right? And they learn from it, hopefully. And then they grow up, and if you do a good job, if you teach them those things and they learn from those mistakes, they become better people. Our whole goal is to raise, let me rephrase that because I don't like saying raising kids. It sends
Mhm.
the wrong message. We're training future adults. That's what
Yep.
we're supposed to do. Train
Yep.
future adults, competent, contributing to society, well-adjusted adults. That's our job, not raising kids.
Yep.
And if we do that right, then we do train good people who are better than us in the future. But if we don't remember the horrible, horrible atrocities that we have committed against each other, what hope do we have? What
Right.
hope do we have of
Right.
stopping that cycle?
I mean,
None.
yeah. I mean, I think that is, our job. It's.
No! What do I do? Crap. Here goes all the translucent powder I just made.
There we go. The can't remember there's like one of those little sayings out there too. Is it's like everybody's worried about leaving the earth, leaving the earth better for the next generation. And it's just like, how about if we leave the next generation better for the
Better for
earth?
the earth.
Exactly. And there's that. That is a big thing. It's funny because as a parent, you have all these discussions with other parents sometimes, and like whatever they're doing, and so many people want to, sure, we always want our kids to have something better than we had. We want them to be, we
But
want
it's
them,
not staff necessarily.
It's what?
It's not stuff necessarily.
Right, right, right.
So confused.
Correct. But it's also part of it is, I mean, I always kind of ask the question. It's like, well, you turned out pretty good. Your parents raised you, trained you a certain way. So if you change that, and if you make things better for your kids, does that make them softer? Does it make them not work as hard? Does it make them, create a different ethic? Does it make them, again, it's like, think about, what went into making you. Is that who you want to leave, for the rest of the world? Because I always think that's like a weird thing, because it's like, well, you don't seem so bad, so don't deviate too far from what your parents did, because it's but I need people that do that. I mean, they're just like,
I like raised, I like to tell people, just think of the math. Think of the math. Okay, first of all, okay, so when I was opening my salon, analogies. When I was opening my salon, I thought about all the salons I'd worked at in the past. What worked? What didn't work? What didn't work? Threw out. What did work? I kept. And you kind of got to do the same with your kids. What worked? What didn't work? But
it's not. But the word is chosen properly, because it's not what did you like, what you didn't like.
Worked.
What worked. Yeah.
What worked. And on top of that, like I said, your job is to train adults. Okay? Train adults. And I feel like my generation's parents went a little too far. My generation's parents were the hippies. And it was all about,
the hippies were the ones, to me, the hippies were the ones that ruined it. But
they were like, our parents worked so hard and they were hard on us and we didn't like it. So we are going to have a different life for my kids. Now, my parents weren't like that. I need to be very clear. There are good things from my upbringing. I'm actually not that butthurt I was born disabled. And the reason why is because I have had to work for everything I've ever had. And I had to work, and I'm not saying this for, oh, aren't I so great and feel sorry for me. There's a reason for it. The point is that I had to work twice as hard as everyone else around me, especially in a very small Midwestern town where you have a lot of people with small minds who don't really know any different or any better. I had to work twice as hard as everyone else just to get half the respect, because everyone's focusing on the fact that I'm disabled. And in the 80s and early 90s, if you were disabled, they immediately thought you were mentally challenged.
Yeah.
So on top of the fact that we didn't have the Americans with Disabilities Act or a ratified Section 504 of the Reformation Act, and I can legally be kicked out of a restaurant because my appearance disgusts people, I'm going to work in an environment and get just as much respect as the next person. I have to work twice as hard.
Right.
And you know what that got me? Good for you. You walk so good, you can't even tell.
No, it got you something bigger than that. Well, it did. It did.
It gave me one appreciation. And it taught me that if I want anything in life, not to sit around and wait for it. I have to go get it myself. And that is something that's severely in my generation, because our parents, when my parents were my age, it was the 80s and early 90s, and the economy was amazing. The economy was great, way better than it is now. It was so easy to get a home loan and a credit card and all this stuff, so that when my generation came into their adulthood and striking out on their own after school and everything, our parents did not understand why it was so hard for us to get on her feet,
Yeah.
so to speak. They didn't understand it because it was a totally different world. And by then they were established. They were established. They had their things, whatever it
Yeah.
was that made their lives happy. It was my generation's parents that were like, listen, I know that you want to go to Hollywood and I know that you want to do VFX and be a makeup artist and be a musician and all this stuff, but you're going to have like, you're going to have to make that your backup. You need something sustainable for now and then use that as your hobby. And what our parents did not know is that if you don't throw yourself entirely into something, it's never going to happen. You have to if you want something, you really want it.
It's 100%.
You have to give your soul to it. You have to give everything to it. Everything. Dedication. Dedication. Dedication and a good work ethic and passion is something, well, I don't know so much about passion, but I definitely say
passion.
Yeah, understanding true passion, dedication is something that I feel like a lot of people in my generation and my kids' generation don't fully understand. That you don't just, the stories of people being discovered by sitting in a diner drinking a milkshake aren't true. They're fabricated. People worked for those things. They worked.
The overnight success took 20 years.
I am 42 years old. I don't care who knows it at this point because I'm looking good for 42. But I'm 42 years old. And I am, just 3 years ago, I opened my own business. But I am just now at this point in my life where I am able to say, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do what makes me happy. And why is that? Why is that? Because I had to work to get to that point.
Well, yeah, because you know what work is.
Right. And we're not teaching that anymore.
No.
My parents, that generation, told their kids, you need something to pay the bills for now. Don't worry about that. So now you got a bunch of people who grew up pissed off and unhappy and bittered that mom and dad told them they couldn't be a pony rider. And so now they're telling everyone else in the world, it's everyone else, it's not you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's that. That was kind of my parents too. My dad, he worked for one of the very first like home computer companies. Actually, it was the company that built the first home computer.
He built Macintosh?
No, it was called a company called Digital Equipment Corporation. And they were like, a huge player back in the 70s. I mean, that was like, and I mean, it's funny because we were up in Oregon, Portland area, and he remembers Bill Gates coming around, kind of like headhunting. He was looking for people to go off with him.
Really?
For the company, yeah. And but he was just like, you got to get into computers, and it's like, no, but we, the computer we had was literally like the size of a Yugo, and with like these giant floppy disks.
Wait, did you say it was the equivalent to a Yugo?
Yeah.
Fantastic reference. I know exactly what you're talking about. Continue.
Yeah. But it was ginormous and, really bad, green, the screen. I mean, but that's what it was, that was like, this is the future. And I'm just like, oh boy, okay. And I tried to learn, just couldn't. I mean, I literally would doze off trying to do something on the computer. Because I was just much more tactile, and I'd rather be down. He had a wood shop, so he had all these woodworking tools, and so I would be down there like lathing out something and building stuff. That was just, like a maker has been my whole world, I think.
Yeah.
But that was, yeah, it was. But I think that what that did was like spawn like a generation of people. I mean, I think that generation, I mean, it was all more about security and stuff like that. Sad part was that, you know, and that was his world. That was how he saw things. And digital, I mean, they changed hands, and he was there for the company. And, you know, that was the time when, you know, at 25 years, you got the gold watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they still did something like that. And at 24 years, they let him go.
What the fuck?
Yeah. You know, that's when, like,
what the actual fuck?
And it's, yeah, I mean, it's amazing because that was like a turning point in business where, yeah, like all of a sudden they were just going to be like, you know, nope, we need the youth, we need the young people, and, you know, we need these.
That's back when, and Dave and I were kind of talking about something similar, but that's back when the United States, I mean, as a people, we did shit like that, but at least we didn't exactly hide it. Like, oh yeah, I did that. What the fuck?
I remember, I think that was like 80, it was like in the mid 80s, 87, 88, maybe that happened, or, you know, maybe it was, no, it was when
oh
I was
man,
in LA. I was in LA, yeah, maybe 85. But yeah, I mean, so it was weird because like the whole time, like, I think I had been in LA, where, you know, and like he just couldn't understand the unstableness of the business. You know, I worked for a month, and then maybe I'm off for 2. You know, and it was just like,
yeah,
really good at saving money and eating lots of top ramen. But it was that was just a different thing, and that was just like they didn't understand it. You know,
yeah.
And I'm sure this was, you know, like the hippie life, but which it kind of was. I mean, like I lived in Long Beach. I lived in Long Beach in the.
Did you know Sublime? Sorry.
No. Yes. No. No. I'm just kidding. I didn't.
Don't do that to me, Brian.
No, but when I first moved to LA, I lived in a place. It was a shack. I lived in a shack across the street from the beach, and
beautiful. Sounds wonderful. Why did you leave?
Well, it was a shack, and
it was a shack.
It was a shack. It was it was on Ocean Boulevard in Long Beach, and like across. I mean, there were, you know, condo towers in front of us, but the beach was right there. You could hear it, you could smell it. It was great, and one of the people in the building was this woman I went to school with, and she would cut my hair, Roxy Early. She's out there somewhere in Michigan. No, she's floating around.
That's the greatest name.
She was an awesome person. And she would cut my hair. And I remember one day we were talking, I was living with my aunt at the time, and I'd gone to school, stay with my aunt, but it was like time to get out and trying to figure out what I was going to do. And she mentioned something, and at the same time talking about like, you need a space to do some work. And she goes, oh, we should go upstairs and look at this thing. And we go out her fire escape door, go up the stairs, and on the roof of this building, two-story apartment building, there's a rooftop where the old laundry room was. And it was 20 by 20. And you could see the wall where all the sinks and a bunch of stuff was ripped out. The floor was like the asphalt of the apartment building. And I looked at it and I was like, is the manager here? And went down, talked with them. I asked him if I could rent it out as an art space. And, you know, he was just the guy who ran the building for, you know, looked after the building for the owners or whatever. He was just like, yeah, sure, $40 a month. I'm like, okay, can I turn in receipts as part of the rent? You know, because I got to put a door on it. There's no doors, there's no windows, and everything was broken out. And he's like, yeah, sure. So $40 a month. I lived there a year and a half. And didn't have a bathroom.
Long Beach.
Didn't have a bathroom. I mean, everything. Nothing was there. Nothing. I mean, you know, there was still water that ran from some of the pipes. That was in the. So then I put in like a sink, you know, at the Home Depot, and got a little sink, and then I got, you know, cold water.
So it was recent enough back that there was a Home Depot.
There was a Home Depot. So this was 1985 when I first moved to LA. And yeah, no bathroom. So Roxy lived downstairs. They gave me a key to their apartment, so then I would just go down the stairs and, you know, go go use the bathroom, take a shower, and be off. And yeah, it's funny. A buddy of mine, because then I lived there, and I worked at Domino's Pizza. And one of the guys at Domino's was an electrician by day, pizza driver by. So he came in and he helped me tap into the building's power. So then I had power.
Yes.
And,
Everyone needs a friend.
Everybody, and yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was a interesting time. Interesting time.
I'm super jealous. I've always felt like, because I am originally I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Actually, I'm from Ferguson. Okay. And I can say these things now because most of them have passed on. But my grandfather was in a certain group of Irish fellows. So we didn't get bothered much in my neighborhood. But okay, so I'm from this certain area. And when I was, a young teenager, my mom moved me to a very small Missouri town, like 11,000 people. And I'm pretty sure the sign was line.
Yeah.
We have one Walmart. There's a Walmart, okay?
Yeah.
And its claim to fame is that they're the first super Walmart in the entire country.
There you go.
So I was an artist. I always was. I played lots of different instruments. I sang, I drew, I painted, I sculpted, I wrote. I wanted to make comic books and stuff. And I was in this tiny little town and I couldn't go anywhere. My mom wouldn't even let me go to St. Louis without her. Like, it was traumatizing. And I'm saying this for reference, but I was sublime girl all through high school and college.
Yeah.
So that Long Beach, Southern California thing was my jam.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking all through that time I was born in the wrong freaking area. Like, I just want to get out of here.
Era.
I just want to go. I want to go somewhere where, my passion and my art is just appreciated. And it's my fault. I stayed. I could have really, if I really, really, really wanted to go, I could have found ways to go, but I didn't. And everything you're telling me, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly everything I wanted as a young adult. Like, that's exactly what I would have wanted to do. But when things started happening in 2020, I'll say, through recently, I discovered the beauty of where I live. And the beauty is, fuck you, we do what we want. Nice try.
Yeah.
There may be a lot of people here that I don't fully agree with. And I do feel in some ways that part of my passionate, creative personality, kind of claustrophobic and unappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
But I do love that F you attitude. You drive 20 minutes up the highway, totally different. The Kool-Aid's been drunk.
Yeah.
And they follow like lambs. But down here, no. That stuff does not fly. In fact, our very, very corrupt sheriff that I have fought against very publicly specifically said, I'm not arresting people for stupid shit like that. I have meth heads to deal with. Like,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Well, my life would have been completely different had I done something. Had I actually left and gone to California and pursued my careers and doing basically what you do. Well, not basically, pretty much what you do. But at the same time, I do feel like my life in this area, my upbringing, has given me that appreciation, because where we're at, we're pretty much alone. Like, you've got the West Coast and you got the East Coast, and we're just kind of sitting here
in the middle
like this.
Yeah. Like watching tennis.
Watching you guys just like, or I don't mean it that way, you know what I mean? But watching the coasts kind of like, yeah, well, we think things should be this way. I'm like, oh yeah, well, we think things should be this way, and we're just like, just don't starve us to death,
Yeah.
and we're good.
Well, but then at a point, you choose. You know, there's a choice to be made. I mean, I think even the whatever the view through the trees. I don't know what that saying is.
Yeah, unable to see the forest.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate thing is that the trees that are missing is that we can't even have a conversation. I mean, I have a couple of friends, and I strongly will call them friends, who diametrically oppose everything that I believe in. And then like we will go, I mean, like we have gone at it, like yelling at each other about stuff. And, our voices being raised at work, and we're just like, and, or he just doesn't get, he's, and two sides of the gun issue and whatever it is, but it's just like, but at the end of the day, it's like, all right, man, I'll see you later, and it's like, because we can have that conversation and we're still friends, that like, it's nobody's taking it as a personal assault that they couldn't change me or I couldn't change them, or, that it's like, okay, you have your opinion, I've got mine. We're obviously not going to meet and dance over there, but, there's going to be something that we do. And even if it's just the work and we're here and actually, it's pleasurable, whatever. It's nice that there are people that you can have a conversation with and still not agree. Right. I mean, I think that's an amazing thing that we are not allowing to happen.
Dave and I talked about this several times over the last 3 or 4 years, that when we were kids, we knew that there were Democrats, we knew that there were Republicans, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. Like, it was never really a hot topic. It wasn't this super, well, we don't talk to them because they're Democrats, or we don't talk to them because they're Republicans. It was your choice. It was 100% your choice, and it just happened to be how you chose to vote or whatever. It wasn't such a aggressive and violent thing. And nowadays, it's like religious wars in feudal England, medieval England. Oh no, we're Protestant now. Pardon the Catholics, they're heretics. And as an Irish woman, I take that personally. I do. I'm just saying that it really feels like it's become this new religious war, and that was the complete opposite of how this country was founded.
Of the point.
I get so tired. For many years, I was like, no, I'm libertarian. And so many people would say, well, a third party's never going to win in a two-party system. Well, I hate to be the one to explain history and civics to you, but this country was not founded on any party system. It's not a party system. It's been twisted into this party system. There's not supposed to be
tribalized.
Right. You're supposed to vote for the person that aligns with your interests more. But so many of these people that get into these parties and politics and so on and so forth have been bought. They've been told.
I mean, you got to take that a little bit further. You don't necessarily want to vote for the person. You vote for the issues, and I think that's where people go a little awry or a little astray, is because, regardless of who's, running, and, I don't know, why am I hesitating to say it? It's just like Trump, was not a polarizing person, in any way, whether he had great financial ideas, he had great country ideas, not a good speaker, not a good public speaker.
Yeah.
But
take the fucking Twitter away from him when he's on the shitter, man.
I know.
He's digging his own grave.
It's like, hello, you're in there still? What are you doing? But,
oh my God.
But it's but there were the so it's like that was the thing, is that those years became very evident that it's just like, okay, it's just, it doesn't matter what's happening anymore. It's just, okay, this persona is now more in the forefront than the issues. I did speak with a former governor of this state, and when we were working together, and spoke with him. I'm not gonna put any words in his mouth, but we had a conversation one time. We were talking about immigration and all kinds of things, and he was just like, you know what? He's like, the unfortunate thing is that things have become so bipartisan. He's like, I could literally walk in with a folder and say, I can solve world peace, unemployment, hunger. And just because I came from this side, they wouldn't even look at it and they'd say no.
Yeah.
And
how fucked up is that?
And it's just, it's really fucked up, because it's just, the ideas aren't entertained unless I can get my piece. I'm not going to vote for that unless, that thing I wanted to do where everybody gets, we're going to like anti-vape and, no more flavored thing. I got to do my commercials. So I need money for that. And I'm not going to sign yours unless you give me that. And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't have anything to do with anything, but okay, I guess I'll do that. That was like one of the big holdups of one of the stimulus checks was somebody wanted $3 billion or something like $300 million to do an anti-flavored vape campaign.
Dude,
and that wasn't signed, and that's why one of those stimulus checks was late.
I read all of that shit.
Yeah,
and because I like to pay attention. If I'm going to vote on something, I'm not going to vote until
pay attention. You have to look into it. You can't just look at the TV and look, Bon Jovi's saying I should do this.
No, I'm not going to listen to other people. Listen, again, I've been divorced several times. I've been led astray before. I've learned to read the fine line, the fine print. And one of those bills that they wanted to send us $2,600, I think, send everyone like $2,600. That one side, and I'm not going to say which side because I don't want anyone to think I've picked a side.
Sure.
Because let me tell you something. I haven't. I don't like either one. I think they're both shit.
Right now, they're both
who's involved in that stuff just wants your money and and whatever power you have.
Yeah.
They want to convince you that the government has money, but they don't. They have yours. So one of these bills said that this side, sure, we'll sign off on all of this, but you're going to get rid of physical cash money. And by 2022, we want a digital dollar instituted and everyone gets a debit card. I was like, fuck no, Scott. Like, no, because if everything is digital, your money, your social, everything, if it's all digital, guess what they can do? Guess what they can do, guys?
Click.
Boop. You're done. Nope. No more mattress money. It doesn't matter. You can't survive off the grid. We want to control everything. I saw that and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm done. I mean, this is all a game.
That takes us down like a whole different place. But
that's just They try to but that's what you were saying is the lobbying, the deal making that sure, we'll do this thing.
Yeah.
We'll do this, which is going to be nice for now. Everyone's going to get a couple $1,000s in their bank account right now. But then a few years from now, even, let's face it, the last 2 years have been the worst years for American small businesses. The absolute worst.
Well, more than during the pandemic, first year of the pandemic, more than 150,000 small businesses closed.
Yep.
Closed. That's the hard-earned cash to open them. That's the life dreams. That's future college.
Labor.
I mean, everything.
Years.
So much.
Everything.
I mean, that's one of the saddest things ever.
It's been as a very small business owner operator, brick and mortar business for the last 3 years. The last 2 have been, well, I'd say 1.5 years for me, have just been the absolute hardest because, and this is something I tried to explain to people when all those free checks were going out, they're not free. and it's your money. The government is giving you money.
They tried to talk to people, and they were like, screaming about, well, Canada's doing this and Australia's doing this, and I'm like,
fuck Canada.
It's your money. Why are you screaming to get you? How about, it's just like, how about don't tax us this year? Give us that.
Yeah. How about no taxes?
I don't want you to take my money, take your piece, and then give a little bit back to me. It's like,
look,
it's your money. It's your money. I don't think the amazing thing is I bet if you back then, if you polled all those people, like, they didn't even realize it was their money. They think it was just like some mystery drawer that the government could open and then start writing checks. It's like, no, how do you think the whole government exists? It exists from your money.
So trying to explain to people in my generation and younger that our money was actually based on physical gold.
Oh, yeah.
Until the 70s. Like, we could only write checks that our ass could cash until the 70s. And now we've been living off of overdraft protection for 40 plus years. Do you not understand that? Deficit means we're in overdraft. We don't have any money. We have none. There's nothing in Fort Knox. If there is something in Fort Knox, we're lying.
Is there even
about it?
Yeah. Is there even a Fort Knox anymore? I wonder. I mean, it's
right.
Knocked down to build it.
So trying to explain to people, like, yeah, sure, let's get all the stimulus checks right now, but it's gonna suck later.
Yeah,
it's going to really suck later, and not just later for us, but later for our kids, our grandkids, our great grandkids, great great grandkids, great 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 grandkids. Someone's got to pay for this, so it has to.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was in there in the fine print, because it's all got to come back to roost at some point. I mean,
right? And where do they think it's going to come from? And somebody's going to come to collect.
You know who's going to do it? You know what most of those people think? I think is that they think like the Jeff Bezos of the world will deal with it.
Oh, Jeff Bezos and Elon got us, right?
Yeah, they got it, right? Because they're the rich. They should be paying for us all anyway.
They're taking off in their spaceships and they're moving to Mars, and fuck us.
They're going to sit back. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny that, people don't understand. I mean, and I don't. I'm not going to even profess to even understand it. I still don't understand the whole back by gold thing. It never really made sense to me. But I get it, but I don't. But the fact that people don't even listen or look past their Instagram page or TikTok is amazing, because a lot of people just get their news from there.
Oh my God, it's so sad.
And it's, I don't know. Without just, you just got to go. It's an onion. You can just go two peels in. You can get two peels past the first one, and you'll get a different story. And why not do that? I mean, that was like my job. I was talking to somebody last night. It's like, I feel that like my job as a father, because I'll start spouting some stuff like I always do, and I've become much more vocal in the last few years, because a lot of it has just been like, we're all too quiet. And when we're all too quiet, again, evil wins when good men do nothing. So I think if we're all too quiet, then people don't know that there's a different thought, and they don't know that there's a different way of thinking. And I think that for my kids, that's important, that I at least give them a different thought. I'm not going to be there to change their mind. I'm not going to be there to, make them follow me. But it's just like, and I try to be really careful in how I talk to them, and it's really more like a phrase. Well, it's like, okay, well, you think that, but don't you think this could be another option? Do you think this is another thing? Do you think it's just like because I want it to be something that they think about,
right?
Because that's something else too that we don't do that much anymore. Is that we just take that, and we take that, and then we're thinking about why do we want to do that?
Right.
That's where, like, for me, so much of the pandemic just did not make sense. When I went back to work, and then they're like all these COVID teams all over the studios, and they're just like, okay, well, every single one of you has a different you guys have all read the same white pages. You're all interpreting it different. You're all doing different things.
And how did those regulations come across? That was a big question I had in my state with my job. And we are in similar industries. We're touching people. We're in their face. And it's a quote unquote luxury service. So we're in this industry, and we're clearly both in states. Okay. And when I opened my business, a few months later, I had a competing salon make accusations that I was violating state regulations, state law. And I was like, show me.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I got this letter. It said, first of all, the person who was accusing me wasn't even a business owner. She was a booth renting stylist. So she did not get the same information I did at all. Everyone in the state of Missouri who owns a business got the same letter from the state of Missouri. And that letter said, and they were specific per industry, like you had restaurant, hair, blah, blah, blah. Well, every beauty industry individual in the state of Missouri got a letter that says, hi, state of Missouri here. Listen, we can't make you do anything. Clearly, I'm paraphrasing. However, here are some suggestions on how we think you should operate during the times of pandemic.
Right.
And they had suggestions. Now, this person kept telling me I was violating regulations and violating regulations. Like, show me the regulations. And she references things that were on my letter of suggestions. And I had to explain to this adult woman that there are no regulations in the state of Missouri when it comes to COVID and COVID procedures. Yes, there are. No, they're not, because regulations are laws. And how do laws get passed?
Yeah.
Well, you vote on them. Who votes on them?
You can say pause.
But how do these things get passed?
Yeah.
Well, people vote on them. Who votes on them?
Did you vote?
Well, we vote on them first. Then our representatives look and see how many of us have voted on them, and then they vote on them. That's how that works. You cannot pass new laws or institute new laws and regulations without voting first. That's not how a democratic republic works. You have to vote on it first. It is illegal to institute laws and regulations by a non-governing body. And the people that sent out these suggestions, in letter form, were departments of health. Departments of health are not
a governing body.
They're not governing bodies. They've not been voted into their position. They have been placed. Therefore, it is illegal. It is an autocracy. It is a why can't I say the word? It's begins with a D, and they tell you what to do.
Dictatorship.
I don't know why I wanted to say dementor. I don't know what. Makes sense.